At this same moment, X is receiving a great deal of attention due to the possibility of a meeting between the SEC and Ripple in order to achieve an agreement. Will this meeting to settle the dispute actually take place? I want to convey that to you through the medium of this movie. At the conclusion of this meeting, will there actually be a deal? As a final question, when can we begin looking for a contract if I do not believe that this will take place or if this meeting is actually taking place? Hello, everyone. In light of the fact that the Ripple CC case is drawing to a close, it is necessary to consider when this court issue will most likely come to a finish. In terms of the chart that displays the price of XRP, let me demonstrate to you how I think this case will ultimately be resolved. I have the impression that this is going to become quite ridiculous, and because of this, I just wanted to bring it up at the beginning of the movie. In point of fact, Gary Gensler was summoned to appear before Congress on a greater number of occasions during the administration that preceded the current one. In a sense, I was able to get it earlier today, that this situation is currently particularly problematic due to the fact that Republicans are in control of the House. The Republicans have the ability to issue a subpoena on Gary Gensler and call him before Congress in response to his unlawful attacks on the federal system. Nevertheless, we have observed that they have not done that at all. Despite the several occasions on which they stated that they would, the Securities and Exchange Commission was the same old thing, and it was even worse than when the Democrats were in charge. According to Tom, Emma, or someone else, the SEC would be different. However, it was the same old thing. There were two really significant questions that the Democrats asked Gary Gensler regarding the safety of Ethereum and other projects that are similar to it when he appeared before Congress on two separate occasions. On the other hand, the current government has not provided us with a great deal of information. It is not acceptable. It is revolting, especially taking into consideration the fact that we were repeatedly assured that a new day will arrive and Gary Gensler would be held accountable for his actions. I really felt the need to bring this up because it has been one of the primary things that has caused me to feel angry. In all honesty, I believe that Gary Gensler would be subject to criticism. I have no doubt in my mind that Congress would exert pressure on Gary Gensler to clarify this thing and that this may be the spark that causes the Securities and Exchange Commission to take action in some of these circumstances. On the contrary, things have transpired in the exact opposite manner. On a regular basis, Gary Gensler has not been subjected to a great deal of stress. To get Gary Gensler to stop going after bad Bitcoin companies and start going after good ones instead, Congress has not had a difficult time successfully obtaining his cooperation. It is that final component that has disappointed me the most over the past few months and years. I had a strong belief that if Congress exerted some pressure on Gary Gensler and made him feel guilty, he could be forced to leave cases like the Ripple case and begin focusing on matters that had more substance. However, this has not been the case, but we are not in that position at the moment. It is my hope that we will not have to be concerned about this matter when the chair of the SEC is replaced. Hopefully we will have a new government. My hope is that the next person to run the Securities and Exchange Commission is someone who has a strong belief in cryptocurrencies and is looking for regulations that will be beneficial to the industry. Regrettably, this is the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. In addition, I felt it necessary to bring this up since I believe it is of the utmost significance that we hold everyone accountable when it comes to cryptocurrencies. The Republicans have the ability to exert pressure on Gary Gensler. However, the Securities and Exchange Commission CC is now targeting the industry, and the Republicans are not taking any action to stop it. From this point forward, I would like to discuss the potential solution that is now being discussed on X days. At the moment, a lot of people are particularly interested in this, and I believe there is a good reason for that, but I feel it is necessary to bring a few things to the attention of people. The alleged settlement talks between Ripple and the SEC. These conversations are scheduled to take place tomorrow, and people are going absolutely nuts over them. You are aware that this data source is reliable. It was obtained from the website of the judge. The difficulty is that these discussions about the settlement are still going to take place, despite the fact that they were removed from her web calendar. To summarize, Brad Garlinghouse, there are. A discussion was held between Chris Larsen and the SEC regarding the deal. If you recall properly, however, the Securities and Exchange Commission has already dismissed the allegations that were brought against Chris Larsen and Brad Garlinghouse. With regard to these charges, why did the SEC quit up? The Securities and Exchange Commission CC never actually charged Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen with theft. Rather, it just stated that they were guilty of the offense. Initially, they were mostly attempting to terrify Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen into signing an agreement. This was due to the fact that they used this excuse. Who can say for sure what their objective was? Due to the fact that the allegations made against Brad and Chris were not legitimate, the Securities and Exchange Commission CC was forced to withdraw the charges against them. This indicates that there will be no more discussions regarding a deal. Despite the fact that the magistrate ought to have removed this entry from her diary, she did not. People were under the impression that this was going to take place tomorrow, and they believed that it was related to a deal that Ripple was going to make with the SEC. That, however, was not the subject of the discussion. Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen were discussing a potential transaction when they were at the SEC. However, those charges have already been removed from the record. The conversation that was planned will not take place. This is something that I wanted to bring to your attention because I have heard a lot of people talking about it, and I am hoping that there will be a conversation about it tomorrow. That particular topic is not being discussed as of now. The Ripple charges are still in effect, despite the fact that this is no longer the case. As a result of the fact that Brad, Chris, and the SEC are no longer facing any charges, there are no discussions taking place regarding a settlement. I just wanted to quickly let you know about that since I've noticed that a lot of people are getting very enthusiastic about it, and I don't want anyone to be too disappointed if those settlement discussions fail. Let me just say that I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Guys, it is essential that you are aware that discussions on a potential agreement between Ripple and the SEC could take place at any moment. In the event that they desire to discuss a transaction, they may get together at any time today to discuss it. However, there are no scheduled conversations on the horizon. After all of that, it is abundantly evident that a great number of individuals are curious about the time when this case will eventually be resolved. If the times that we just discussed don't work out, are there any other occasions that we can look forward to with anticipation? I think this number is so fascinating that I thought it would be interesting to share with you because I find it to be so fascinating. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It is provided in the following paragraphs that a high-level analysis of what we have observed with XRP up to this point, what might happen in the future, and how different patterns have turned out to be similar to one another is made available. The chart that is zoomed out to a greater extent will be the one that I choose to initially select. The structures in question are not the only subject of this video, rather it is about something altogether else. They give off the sense of being quite fascinating to look at, in my opinion. However, if we take a more in-depth look, we will be able to discern what it is that I am definitely interested in talking about, which is the conclusion of the RIPPLE XRP case. This is something that I am very excited about. Guys, as of right now, the litigation that the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC is pursuing against Ripple is almost entirely gone. This is the case, which I am positive will provide a great deal of joy to a great number of some of you. I am certain of that. I did nothing more than pass this map over to you along with this box. That was all I did with it. The only thing I did with it was that, no other stuff. The day when the paperwork for the Ripple CC case is due, which is also the last day that paperwork can be accepted, is the day that this box will begin to be filled up. In relation to the Ripple CC case, the deadline for submitting documents is the 6th of May. This is the final day that papers can be submitted. On the other hand, taking into account the fact that the Securities and Exchange Commission is acting in its capacity as the SEC and has the SEC and has a tendency to accomplish things in their own way, I believe that they will request an extension. To the best of my knowledge, the filing deadline for the lawsuit that Ripple is bringing against the Securities and Exchange Commission is the 20th of May. Additionally, this is the first day of this box, which is a coincidence. It is on this chart that I am currently recording the information that you have provided. Following the completion of my study, I have arrived at the opinion that Judge Torres ought to make a decision when the goods that are still in the box are moved to the right. This is the conclusion I have arrived at. According to my understanding, it is possible that Judge Torres will not make her decision public until this box is closed, which is most likely going to be in the beginning of September. This is something that I believe to be possible. According to my beliefs, this is something that will take place. I am of the opinion that Judge Torres will issue a decision on this matter at any time between the 20th of May and the following month, which is September. This is the opinion that I have regarding the circumstance. The lawsuit that the Securities and Exchange Commission filed against Ripple will be considered to have been resolved by the time that this occurs. A very optimistic belief is that the action taken by the SEC against Ripple will be resolved in the near future, and that XRP and Ripple will no longer be required to cope with this inconvenience. This is a belief that one can have with a great degree of optimism. The event that is about to take place is going to take place in this box, which is located in close proximity to the site where we are standing at the moment.